Welcome to the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast, powered by Hiscox. I'm your host, Sanjay Parekh. Throughout my career, I've had side hustles, some of which have turned into real businesses. But first and foremost, I'm a serial technology entrepreneur. In the creator space, we hear plenty of advice on how to hustle harder and why you can sleep when you're dead. On this show, we ask new questions in hopes of getting new answers. Questions like, how can small businesses work smarter? How do you achieve balance between work and family? How can we redefine success in our businesses so that we don't burn out after year 3? Every week, I sit down with business founders at various stages of their side hustle to small business journey. These entrepreneurs are pushing the envelope while keeping their values. Keep listening for conversation, context, and camaraderie. Today's guest is Marisol Colette, founder of Soul Reflection, based in Asheville, North Carolina. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to have you on because, as our listeners will soon find out, you made up a whole thing for yourself, like a whole business that didn't really even exist before you came around. So before we get into that, give us a little bit about your background and what got you to where you are today.
So I grew up with a family of artists and I went to art school for high school, but I also was very interested in the helping profession. So I went to college and I started to get an undergraduate in social work. Then I went to grad school in New York City and got my master's in social work because the idea of being in a profession where I could lead people to deep transformation was really, really meaningful for me and really exciting for me. So fast forward, I got a job at the VA hospital, but on the side, I sang, I had all this art background. I still have this, family full of artists. And on the side, I would do going through people's closets for fun and for free, like my friends. And they would feed me dinner and we would have a great time. And it was then that the reflection started to come like, wow, this is really meaningful. This is more than just telling me what to wear. I feel really confident at the end of our time together, which wasn't necessarily surprising to me because of my background as a therapist. I was like, oh yeah, I'm listening in a deeper way. But then after hearing that, I was like, what if I married these two things and made this whole business up as the fashion therapist?
Yeah, I love that because honestly, like I probably need a different kind of fashion therapy because I have no fashion. But I like the marrying of those two things. So so you start this thing. There's really nobody doing this at that point, right? How do you get started with something like this? Because the other challenge is you're doing something that nobody else is doing, which means nobody else knows that they need that, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you get started doing that?
Well, the first thing I did was when I left my job, felt very courageous to do because a government job is like golden handcuffs, but really can sometimes be more like bronze handcuffs. But it feels really hard to leave. And nobody was leaving the job that I had at the time. It was a big surprise to folks. But I started private practice. So I built a therapy practice because I am a therapist. And that I knew I could do. That's something that everybody knows, what a therapist is. And then little by little, I just started charging for the thing that I was doing for my friends. So I'll come to your closet. I'll go through your closet. We'll make outfits out of the things that you already have. And we'll rework your wardrobe. And then, of course, that turns into, well, how do I fill in the gaps? And it's like, okay. And then I would charge people to go shopping with them. And it's grown immensely. This is my 10-year anniversary.
Wow, that's awesome. So was the starting your private practice the first kind of entrepreneurial thing you did? Or was there anything entrepreneurial like when you were a kid or anything else like that?
Yeah, I mean, I made friendship bracelets, put it in this, I don't even know where it came from, but it was like a briefcase that had a glass front to it. This is very, very, I don't know what else you would have put in there, I guess jewelry. And I would go around and sell my friendship bracelets. Again, fast forward, we were in Portugal earlier this year and I made friendship bracelets for my whole family. So apparently I'm still making them. I'm just not selling them.
Always about the friendship bracelets. I guess you can't go wrong with those at all, can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to ask, a family of artists, did they think you were kind of crazy for going into social work? Because that's really kind of off the beaten path from art.
Yeah, no, not at all. Because I also they are also people who volunteer, who have very heart-centered values. So they had me volunteering at a nursing home when I was like 11. So it made sense. It made sense and admirable, I think, to them as well.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so I mean, in a lot of ways now, you've kind of married therapy with art, fashion just being a different kind of art. Okay, so you get started with your friends and whatever, just going through their closets. When did you kind of realize that, hey, this is a real business? And how did you start thinking about charging people? And how did you decide on how much to charge people?
That is an incredible question because there is no industry standard really for even personal stylists. So I'm in a group of celebrity stylists, and we're just now having the conversation of like, what is the industry standard? And it is incredibly varied. So then, at first it was all local. So how do I charge based on my location? What do I think my value is? What do I need to make in order to be, half the breadwinner in the family? So it's amazing. I don't know. I mean, I had a business coach in the very beginning. I've had business coaches along the way, and I think that has influenced what I've charged. And also just the more expertise I have and the longer I've been in business, the more I understand what my value is. But it's a great business question for somebody who comes out as like, I just want to support people. I just want to help people. I want to do this from this heart-centered creative place. It's a interesting conversation in the mind of a creative.
Yeah. So how did you get started though? So when you did start charging, like, how did you pick a number? Did you just pick a number out of the air and you're like, let's see if they pay this?
I think so. I think so. I can't remember if it was like, what can you pay? I don't think so because I needed to make a certain amount of money. Oh, I bet what I did is I charged my hourly rate that I charged as a therapist. I think that's what I did. So I just translated that same hourly rate.
Yeah. And so now, how do you think about that, fast forward 10 years from now? Like, is it different? Is it the same now still? Was that the right number? Like looking back at that?
It was the right number at the time. I had a lot of learning to do, so it was a great number for me. It worked for our family. No, it is not the same anymore. I do still have a very small private practice. That hourly rate is still lower than my hourly styling rate. And it's just a matter of what I do, all of the things that I'm doing in the moments that I am styling someone. I often am with them at their homes, so there's travel involved. I fly places. There's all sorts of extra things that go into it. And then I have like bigger packages. So I work with people on a long-term basis. And then it's a conversion of how many hours I spend with them.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I was trying to understand too. That it's an interesting point. So at first I was thinking like, okay, this is maybe a one and done type of thing. And that would then translate into why you would need to charge more because look, you're going to do it once and you're not going to. So there are kind of ongoing engagement with folks. So how do you figure that out? Like when it makes sense to have a longer engagement versus not for somebody?
Yeah. So right now I have one client who's a socialite who is at events all of the time. So she has a large closet. She's a maximalist. It's great. We're constantly curating and culling. She wants new outfits for every event. Totally works. She needs me all the time. I have another client who is an international speaker. She's on the news. She's about to release her book. So I work with her because she's about to be on book tour. So it's constant conversations, podcast speaking engagements, etc. So she has better things to do than worry about what to wear, which is one of my taglines, because that's what I want to support is allowing other people to focus on what they are here to do and not allowing them to be distracted by what they wear or have to spend time worrying about it, like putting it together, any amount of time spent on that. So I just pick her outfits and put it into her digital closet, and she wears exactly what I tell her to wear to the things that I tell her to wear them to.
I feel like I need that, but that's probably a whole different conversation.
No, it's probably the same one. I'm happy to help.
So let's talk about like how are you pitch this in the beginning? Because I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this same challenge when they're trying to do something that's very new and very different. And it's this struggle of trying to communicate what you're doing as well as the value proposition behind it. So how did you think about those things for yourself?
Yeah, it's such a good question because as you're starting a business, you have to think about the quote unquote elevator pitch. So how do I explain this to somebody in under 30 seconds if I'm meeting somebody in a restaurant or something like that? And it is trial and error. I mean, in the beginning, I used to call myself your best girlfriend, right? Because at the time I was thinking about it from the perspective of when I would help my friends. I go into your closet. It's a very vulnerable place to be inside your home, looking at, everybody's like, oh, my closet's a mess, or oh, my clothes, or whatever. We're talking about body image. We're talking about how they feel in their bodies. We're talking about who they are, how they want to authentically express themselves. There's a lot of vulnerability in that. And the best person for that job is your best friend. So I used to call myself your best girlfriend, and that does not fully describe what I do. And the wisdom that I bring to the potential for the transformation that clients have. So the depth of transformation that people experience when they truly feel like their authentic selves. It's much more, that comes from my expertise, not just being a great friend.
Yeah. Have you had with clients like these breakthroughs that don't relate to fashion while you're doing
100%.
These things? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because, we do become close. With the work that I do, I am available ongoing. So I'm having lots of conversations. Sometimes we're talking about money, actually, because we're talking about investment in self. So do I feel like I'm worth the investment in myself to spend money on quality clothes? Do I love myself enough to buy clothes? Do I like my body enough to want to adorn myself? I mean, I think the difference between when I was a social worker as the front facing part of my business and when I am a personal stylist with the therapeutic background, the big difference is that we are coming at it from this creative, lighthearted, more fun, beauty forward perspective. And so there are breakthroughs, but it's not super cathartic. Like if you're sitting in a therapy office, it can be really big and meaningful, but it's not intended to be like a let's strip you down figuratively and literally and start from scratch here.
Yeah. Have you had, this is interesting to me that you still have the small practice that you're doing as well as this, which is kind of maybe the larger portion of what you're doing. Have you had people kind of migrate back and forth between essentially the two businesses?
No, because ethically I can't with my particular license.
Got it.
So
okay.
No, but people are talking about self-esteem. They're talking about how they're showing up in their own businesses or in their own lives or dating and things like that. So, I have that flavor in my background as a therapist. I can talk to people about body image and that part of it, eating and things like that, and society's expectations on us as all genders, what they expect us to do, strong, beautiful, skinny, buff, tall.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your motivation? This is interesting to me too, because it seems like a lot of your effort is on the kind of fashion therapy and helping people kinds of, in terms of that, make them feel good, make them look good, make them comfortable in kind of the person that they are. But you're still holding on to this kind of traditional therapy business as well. And do you feel like that kind of makes it harder for you to grow the business or deal with the business? Like why is that you're holding on to that therapy business as well?
I don't take on new clients, but I have clients that I had from before and I love them. I just love them. So I have kept working with them. They're biweekly. So I only see them a couple times a month. It's not a huge, I would never call any of my work a time suck, but it doesn't take up a lot of my time. Right. It helps me keeps me top of mind as far as the therapeutic practices. I have to keep my license up, so I get education. It all helps everything else. So no, it doesn't bother me at all. And my motivation for why I do what I do is because think about all these amazing people, especially the heart-centered people. And they have all this incredible work they want to do in the world. All of the folks who are starting their businesses. This comes from a place of deep desire and values that they want to get their business out in the world. And they, somewhere deep down, they believe that it is meaningful enough to start a business. And the courage that takes, and the fact that you have to be facing outward to be your business. Small businesses, you are the face of your business. And it takes confidence and courage. And so many people, I cannot tell you how many people have said to me, I got invited to a dinner with my friends and I didn't go because I didn't know what to wear. And that is a microcosm of what it would look like to be invited to a speaking engagement or to a networking event, that it would be even hard for you to get dressed, to go out with friends and you said no. You know what I mean? People hide because they're uncomfortable in their own skin. And then there's this, especially with small businesses, it's like, okay, so I'm starting my own business. Should I look professional? Do I need to wear a suit? What should I wear? How do I align myself and show people how I'm different than somebody else, or what I really like about my business and why I'm here to do what I do, and how we can actually express that through what we wear. And then that gives people yet another layer of understanding about who we are, what our values are, what we're here to do, what our business is about. So yeah, I just want people to shine and feel really confident.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so interesting. So now it makes a lot of sense, right? You've got this therapy business that I guess over time, it would get smaller and smaller since you're not taking on new clients. And then over time, kind of the fashion side will become larger and larger. So let's talk about that a little bit. You started this out as kind of just a sole entrepreneur doing this therapy thing. How are you thinking about growing that business? Or does it grow? Does it become a team? Is it a team now? How big of a team? Where do you see this going in the future?
Yeah, yes, it is growing. Because I hit my 10-year anniversary this October, that feels like such an incredible milestone. And in the last 2 years, my business has grown, but I also proverbially quit. I think it was the top of 2024. I said to my husband, I was like, what would you say if I quit my business altogether? And he just came up with a cute little jingle and was like kind of laughing. He was like, we're closing soul reflection and we don't know what's going to happen, and he took it really lightly. I didn't know what was coming, but what I knew is that I needed to turn the dial down on certain things that I had been doing, close down certain parts of my business so that I could open up into new layers. And earlier this year, I had like 8 contractors that worked for me. And then I started to put them all into one full-time employee. Not all of them, but a couple of them got moved into one full-time employee. So as of October, I hired my first full-time employee. And she's incredible. I cannot believe that with 40 hours a week, we are still behind. When before she was 5 hours a week. Okay.
Yeah. So that's such an interesting insight. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners, is like thinking about that first hire, and then worrying about like, oh, is there going to be enough work for this person? Oh, is there going to be revenue that supports this person? So how did you get over that for yourself to get to that point? Like you had this team of contractors, but sometimes concentrating that into one person doesn't always necessarily work.
It is still a huge leap of faith. I mean, what am I currently in my just beginning months of this? So and had one of my lowest earning months right after I hired her full time. And I just thought, what an interesting universal response to this, because all signs point to yes. Right. But what I'm recognizing is we're actually spending a lot of our time forward thinking. So we're doing a lot of long-term planning. So I just got invited to an event next September, like a company that does multi-million-dollar fundraisers in Texas. So that's, in the future, we are leading a retreat in Italy in April of 2026. So that's another future thing that could not have happened without her support. So, while the like ROI in the very moment that I hired her isn't the same, there's this huge transition. The whole point of having her on was to grow the business in these larger ways. So yeah, well, I mean, it's small business. It's a day-to-day leap of faith and practice.
Yeah. So this is so interesting. So how did you not get nervous? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs would like, okay, you hire your first employee and then revenue went down, right? Like that's a panic moment right there. So how did you keep calm? How did you not get nervous in that? And how did you get yourself through that?
I'm paying her approximately what I was paying all of those contractors together. I have to remember that because it's a mindset thing too. Right. It's like, yes, there is a lot of pressure actually because I'm responsible to her and she is relying on me solely for now. And yeah, I mean, did I wake up for a bunch of days nervous, having had nervous dreams? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm human, but I have people, I have mentors, I run the numbers. We're doing this on a quarterly basis that we have goals that we have to hit on a quarterly basis. We are going to hit that goal because, I think when you're in business for yourself, you're looking at day to day. You're like, did I make money today? Did I make money today? And then it's like, did I make money this month? And then it becomes, did I make money this quarter? And then all of a sudden it starts to be like, oh, did I make money? How much did I make collectively this year? So low earning month is not what's going to happen over, Q4 for me. It's just a part of it. And yeah, and then I call my mentors and I'm like, do I have to make a change? Do I need to reduce her hours? Do I need to make a change or do I need to just sit in the discomfort and the faith knowing that things are coming?
Yeah. I often say about entrepreneurs that there's those of us that have had to worry about making payroll. And the rest of us are those that have not yet had to worry about making payroll. I think it comes for all of us at some point. And I think you become a very different entrepreneur when you've had to deal with that and have had to go through that because you really do. Like, I think you touched upon that where, you're responsible now, right? You're not only responsible for yourself, and then, whatever it is. But now the minute that you start hiring people, you're responsible to them. The business is more about them than it is about you at that moment. How did you find this first employee? Like, how did you go out and get this magical unicorn that has helped driving the business?
I courted her to no end. So I got connected to her when she was an intern in undergrad. And her 5 hours a week was as valuable as my 60 that I put in. Like her 5 hours were so potent and she was always available and she had a million things on her plate and double major and all this stuff. And yet she still showed up for me just as crisp and concise and, on point as ever for those 5 hours. So I was like, how can I hire you full time? And I'm saying these words out loud, knowing that at the time I was in the process of, proverbially closing my business. And so I shut off the valve. I said, I'm not taking on new clients. And yet I'm saying out loud, can I hire you full time? So, and she told me no. She told me no. She told me no. She told me no. She didn't want to work virtually. She lives in New York City. And I asked her again and again, and I just kept, without making her uncomfortable, I just kept saying, this is an option if you want it to be. And when she graduated, she took a job in person somewhere, and she really couldn't give me as many hours. And she did not like it as much. And she said she thought about working for me, like how much more she enjoyed working for me. So the first week I brought her on, I flew her here because I double booked myself for something. And so I was like, look, we're in person. I have to fly you here immediately because I need you in person. So, and I'm taking her to Italy with me and she's such an incredible, valuable. Yeah, it was just one of those things. I'm so lucky to have her. So lucky.
Yeah. I mean, when you find those unicorn people, man, you got to do whatever you can. We've had one in the past that, still does not work with us, has worked with us before, but not, really for us anymore. She has her own business now. But my business partner and I have always said that, man, if we could have just a few people exactly like that, like clones of her, we could dominate the world. Like there would be
Dominate
nothing
the world.
stopping us. When you find those unicorn employees, man, you got to do whatever you can to hang on to them. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about kind of health and wellness. I know you've had challenges in your past. Let's talk about that and how that's kind of impacted your business. So how do you think about now kind of health and well-being related to running your businesses, and how has it impacted you in the past?
So right now I'm 41. I think I'm 41 and I have a 4.5-year-old. So I'm at this time in my life where things are supposed to be almost too busy, right? Like this is just a period of life where things are just so busy for people because, my business is still ramping up. I'm just in the first 10 years. And, the quote unquote work-life balance, I would say it's not where it will be as things continue to catch flywheels, right? Every time I catch a flywheel, like having my assistant now, I have so much more time to relax and be creative, right? To take things slower. But it's just supposed to be busy right now. And I also really love what I do. After I had my kiddo, it was a very hard pregnancy. He's an IVF baby. We had 8 years of fertility issues, and we're so fortunate to have him. But the pregnancy was hard, and postpartum was awful. And the first thing I wanted to do was go back to work because it was the only place I felt like I had any expertise. And so I love what I do. Plus, I'm shopping with people, I'm helping people. I get to see their joy. I get to see them shine, beautiful colors, patterns, textures. So it's a delightful job. And when I get overly busy, I just have to remember that this is temporary, that I'm going to get, this is temporary. When I left my job at the VA, I was diagnosed with cancer a couple weeks after I left. And again, when these moments when I make big leaps of faith and the universe is like, are you sure? Let me give you the ultimate test. But to me, and it wasn't life-threatening. It wasn't life-threatening. And I feel very grateful for that. And to me, it was an opportunity to quite literally shed and let go of the, no shade on government positions, but it was a very male-dominated place that didn't always support creativity. I was told by my boss at the time, he said, "You're a star and we don't have stars here." And while that was an insult, he was trying to dim me down a little bit. I also really appreciated that because that helped me see like, oh yeah, I can't be my full self here. This is not a place where I'm supposed to bring my creativity. Yeah. And so, yeah, it was just a letting go of all of that. And it also put me flat on my ass and I had to sit really still and recover. And it gave me time to think like, okay, what would I do differently? What am I going to do differently to make this job? Because I have the luxury of making this job what I want it to be.
Right. How long was it after that you started Soul Reflection?
I had opened my business and I would, a lot of my clients at the time didn't know, but then not long after I had surgery, I would climb myself into my therapy chair and sit there in a little bit of pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you were doing both at the same time, dealing with
a little bit, but a little bit.
As well as
I did not do it as much as, did not get to blast off like I wanted to, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last couple of questions here for you. If you're, our listeners are probably listening to this and being like, okay, well, she did something that was kind of very off the beaten path. Nobody else was doing, hard to explain. If you were talking to somebody that's trying to do that kind of thing, something that's, too weird, people don't understand because it's never been done before. What kind of advice would you give to them about staying the course and, making sure that people get it and getting to the promised land like you have?
Mm-hmm. You got to keep it simple. Keep it 101, because when I first started trying to explain things to people as to what I was doing, it was overly complicated. But now I have it so simplified that the introduction to it is incredibly simple. And then speaking of flywheel, the thing that has always been difficult to explain is the depth of transformation on the other side. Like, how could you possibly be a different person after working with me for some time, right? Like, how could you possibly, just from changing what you wear, right? And I think that's what people think. It's just about what you wear. And so that's the part that's always been hard to explain. So what I do when I'm on a sales call, I say, and I have clients that you're welcome to talk to who have volunteered to talk to you, because there's no way for me to explain what this could look like for you other than for you to hear it from them. And so, you got to get a couple of testimonials and some word of mouth before it's going to make sense to everyone. And just do your work and stay clear and true to yourself. Just do your work.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, last question for you. Like, now thinking about it, it's been 10 years, fabulous. A lot of small businesses don't get to that mark. Thinking back, is there something that you experience now that you're a lot wiser on that you would go back and do differently based on what you know now?
Yeah, P&Ls. I mean, I didn't even know what a profit and loss spreadsheet was when I got started. I would have loved to have taken a business course. I mean, that was not on my radar. I think a business course, a tax class, all of those things should be. There's an incredible book that a friend of mine wrote called Taxes for Humans. And I think it's an incredible book for small businesses because she talks about the tax benefits before you even realize that you are an organization or a company, or before you're even incorporated. So yeah, check out that book. And I just wish I had that in 2015.
Yeah. How did you figure all that stuff out for yourself then as you went?
Clunkily, by hiring business coaches along the way. But it wasn't the first one that told me that either. It was a mindset coach and a business coach. And then finally I got somebody who was like, are you actually kidding me that you've been in business for yourself without like a P&L? And I was like, I don't even know. I was like, I'm sorry to tell you, but very honestly, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I pay my bills. I make the money. What else do you want? Right?
Exactly.
I love it. Marisol, this has been fantastic. Where can our listeners find and connect with you online?
Yeah. So my name is Marisol, S-O-L. So my business is Soul Reflection, S-O-L, Reflection. So you can find me at soulreflection.com. I'm on Instagram at Soul Reflection. You can see all the fun outfits that I do, the conversations that I'm having, client testimonials. And on Facebook also at Soul Reflection, LinkedIn, Marisol Colette, Soul Reflection. Thinking anywhere else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on today.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjay.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Side Hustle to Small Business podcast powered by Hiscox. To learn more about how Hiscox can help protect your small business through intelligent insurance solutions, visit hiscox.com. That's HISCOX.com. And if you have a story you want to hear on this podcast, please visit hiscox.com/share your story. I'm your host, Sanjay Parikh. You can find out more about me at my website, sanjayparikh.com.